So you got your message down, you're showing up consistently.
But the silence is real. Still crickets. Because the truth is, people don't take action unless they feel something first.
This is what we unlock in stage 2 of the visibility effect, which is connect. And if you stay with me to the end of this video, I promise I'm going to introduce you to a powerful set of 25 high converting sales methods, the same ones we use with our clients to turn emotional connection into real conversation and help them pull revenue from their audience in under 72 hours. Let's get into it. So here's the truth. People don't buy because they see you. They buy because they feel seen by you.
And when they don't get that, they scroll, they ghost, they bounce. And that has nothing to do with your talent. It has
everything to do with your emotional experience your brand creates online. If you've ever said, hey, look, I've been posting all the time, but nothing's landing. My content is great, but no one's engaged. I know I'm great at what I'm doing, but it's just not clicking. I've been there before. And you're not alone. You don't have a visibility problem. You have a connection gap because most experts market like experts. People don't buy expertise, contrary to belief. They buy emotion. And when your message feels like a mirror and not a megaphone, they respond. Let me show you how to close the connection gap on purpose. There are 7 core ways to teach your clients to build emotional trust, intimacy, and momentum with your audience. We like to use our emotional mapping connection with our mapping outcome because connection isn't just a vibe. It's a map. It's a sequence. It's how people move from noticing you to trusting you to wanting to work with you with a huge focus on mapping outcome. We want to focus in 4 areas, which in most cases, we'll go into detail a little further, but recognition, we want the audience to say, hey, that's me. Next, we want to move to relate. We want the audience to believe we get them. Next, we have to move into, we want to resonate. They need to see that we are them. And lastly, respond. They need to know that we feel like, how can I take action to work with you? Look, we're going to walk through each one of these pieces. The 7 ways to create emotional connection. Let's start with number 1. Mirror your inner dialogue. Say what they are already thinking, but haven't said it out loud. This would be like tapping into unspoken fears. Usually it's supported by a feeling of inadequacy or uncertainty or rejection and usually failure. Why this works, it triggers the you get me moment, that moment that builds trust fast. Let me show you what this looks like in real life. Let's use unspoken fears or inadequacy as an opportunity. So let's say you've been struggling to get leads, right? I would say something, our team would say something like, you ever feel like you've been doing everything right, but still not good enough to be chosen? You see, that hits different because it's not just about the problem, it's about the emotional cost of the problem. That's what creates connection. When your words reflect their thoughts, they start to believe you understand their world. But understanding their thoughts is just the beginning. Why? They also need to feel your story. So leads me to number 2. Tell a vulnerable, relatable story. Let them see your humanity, not just your highlight reel. When you tell your story, you want it to be clear, concise, and compelling. Why it works, it shifts the audience to think, hey, he gets me. So using a pathway story framework, we like to use story as an acronym. Let's start with S. So when you tell your story, tell your backstory. Why should they listen to you? Next, T. What was your target audience or your desired goal that you were trying to achieve? Oh, the obstacle. Pinpoint the big problem or the roadblock that prevented you from getting the results. R, the realization. What was it, the epiphany that shifted everything for you, that made everything come together? And finally, why? Yield. What was the transformation? What did you get? Finally, the outcome that you received. When you do this, people just, they see you. Like, man, he's walked down my path. But after my 3rd launch had flopped, I almost walked away until I realized problems wasn't the strategy. It was the lack of connection. And that shift taught me more than any course I've ever purchased. You see what I just did? I just resonated. That's what stage 2 is. You're not just an expert. You're someone who also gets it. You've been there before. Now, let's take this step a little further because great brands don't just talk about sales. They actually talk to their audience, which leads me to number 3. Use you first copy and not about your brilliance. Sorry to say, it's about their breakthrough. You are not the hero. They are. You're just a guide. So here's the common thing that I see experts try to convey. How many people they're helped. Like if I was to say I've helped women with chronic pain, the best way I would position is change it. I would say, look, you've been carrying this tension for so long, it feels normal, but your body wasn't meant for you to live this pain. This is a part of how we shift from authority first to empathy first. And you build deeper connection when you make them the main character. And often they feel like, hey, I'm the hero. Once they feel like they're the hero, they need to know that you see their struggle before you solve it. So which leads to number 4, infuse empathy into every message. Validate how they feel before offering what they need. Why this works? Empathy builds emotional safety, and safety builds trust. For example, if I was talking to a client who's been losing and spending ads on ad money, I would say something like, hey, you ever felt and looked at your ad spend and felt sick to your stomach? You're not alone. You're just one shift away from alignment. What I did was that I helped create an emotional safety. That's a part of what we try to do. When your audience feels safe, they start to open up, and that's when momentum builds. But this next part isn't about what you say, it's about how you show up. Which leads me to number 5. Show your face. Use your eyes. Video builds subconscious trust when done with warmth. Why it works? People follow people, not graphics. When they see you in your eyes, they see your heart. Now they believe that you are no different than they are. They become the shift to be like, yo, he's me or she's me. So in your videos, I get what the gurus say. You don't need no big studio lighting to connect. You just need to show up looking directly right into the camera lens and speak to one person who needs you. This is how you create familiarity and intimacy at scale without being salesy. You become someone they feel like they know even before they ever meet. Now let's speak to something even deeper. Who they want to become, which leads to number 6. Use identity-based language. Speak to who they are and who they want to be. Why this works is people buy to reinforce or evaluate or elevate their identity. So if I was working with a fitness coach who specializes in helping women, I'll have their message say, for the women who's done every challenge, every diet, and is finally ready to reclaim your strength on her own terms, I'm talking to you. What I just did was system reinforcement. This is how we align your message with your audience aspirations. It makes your offer feels personal and not transactional. Now let's end with something really simple but powerful: engagement. Which leads to number 7. Invite micro engagement. Low friction prompts often opens the door to high trust moments. Why it works? Even one word reply or emojis create momentum in conversation. It gets them to think, oh, make it easy to work with me. Like, I need this to work. Like, so for example, I'll say something like, drop me a me if you ever sent a follow up and immediately regret it. That's system reinforcement, but also giving an action. This is how we reduce resistance and build back and forth energy with our audience. Every reply is a step towards relationship, and relationship drives revenue. These 7 steps are the core of emotional mapping connection. And because when your message doesn't just speak, but connects, relates, and reflects, you no longer have to push your offer. You become someone that they trust, someone that they feel, someone that they chose. Now, let's kind of do like a gut check here for a moment. I want you to look at your past posts, maybe your last 5 posts. Did you teach or did you connect? Did it sound like you, your voice, or your brand, or did you sound like a sales page? What would your audience say to you about your message? Would they be like, wow, man, it's like this dude is living in my head rent free? If not, this is where we need to focus. Emotional connection isn't fluff. It's your fastest path to momentum. And if you're wondering, how do I start the right kind of conversations? I got you. I've created 25 high converting sales messages that work with your audience you already have, like your followers, your inbox, your contacts, and your past clients. They're designed to help you stand genuine, like conversations, reignite cold leads, and pull money from your existing list in under 72 hours. No launch, no ad spend, no guesswork. Just better words with the lead to real results. So if you want to find that, you'll see that in the description. Now that we got you clarity and connection, it's time to talk about conversion, because being visible is great, but being profitable is better. That's what we're really here for, right?
In the next video, I'm going to walk you through how to convert without being salesy. The visibility first approach is like turning interest into income. So let's turn connections into clients.